Welcome to Tami's Soul Speak, featuring animal intuitive and medium Tami Hendricks, offering insight, spirituality, transformation, and clarity to every soul. Now, here's Tami.
Hello, everybody. Greetings. It's our new show time, and I appreciate you joining on this very special show that we have so much to talk about and discuss. And if you would, if you come onto the show, tell me where you're from. I'd like to see some just different areas and see where you're tuning in from. But, you know, I love the topic that we have today because I think it's an ongoing topic, and it's one that it's almost like an evergreen topic. It continues to stay with us throughout our lives and changes. It's nice to see everybody. Hey, Romy, it's early for you. Thank you for joining. Hey, Patty, for you too. And Leslie and Kat, you're in my neck of the woods. Hello from down the road. Yeah. And I love to see some new faces and new names. This is wonderful. Hey, Judy, from Green Bay, Wisconsin. And Stacy, oh, glad you're here. And Susie Everett, I'm always so glad you're here. And it's early for you too. And Wendy and Tracy, oh, wow. Yeah, Michigan, or Minnesota rather. And Wendy, timely topic for me today. I'm taking my Jessie, a Boston Terrier, to transition today. Oh my goodness. Oh, what a day for you then. What a day. It's an honor that you're on the show. That's never easy, ever. Hey, Beth, good to see you. And Leslie, Boston. Hey, cousin, you're early too. It's my cousin, she's on. How wonderful. And Lexanne, oh, thank you for doing this. I have two seniors, 14-year-old and 13-year-old. Yeah, I totally understand. This is it's a special topic. It's a fragile topic. It's one that I have worked with for as long as I can remember. The animals have taught me quite a bit about death, dying, life, and everything in between. And the way they view it is very, different than how we typically approach it. And I'm going to read something to you that came from one of my writings, but it also is something the animals shared with me. And they basically said, when our bodies can no longer serve us, our souls go through a metamorphosis, changing from form to spirit. It's not unlike the birth process, only in reverse, from spirit to form. And I thought that was so lovely because that helped me understand more than I ever could just on my own. Hey, Carolyn, cheers from Miami. Yay. Oh, you have a 19-year-old ragdoll, Hurricane Katrina rescue. Wow. Yeah, I've always felt animals come to teach us a new understanding of the dying process, which so many of us uncomfortably shy away from. And they're masters at the flow of birth, growth, death, and the beyond. And so, in our time together, I'm going to cover as many areas and the ones that have been important to me and answer as many questions as I possibly can. You have sent in a lot, and the questions are really deep and helpful. And I think it's going to be, a growth for everybody. And so, this part of the show is, we're going to talk about how do we know when? And I know that for me, I always have to really dial into a lot of different places, and my mind can take me, it can be too active and I can't listen in. And so I have to really continue to kind of ground myself and center myself in order to listen. So, I always start with ask to be guided to pay attention to all the pieces, from whatever your vet is telling you to what your animal is telling you. And, here's what I do. And, we're going to get some other pieces of it, but I thought maybe I could give you some steps that I go through personally when I'm looking at that kind of situation. And I have several now that are older, that are in various bodily changes and stages, and it's never easy. So the first thing I do is if I have an animal I know is in that transition phase, is I tell that animal that it's okay for them to go. That I'll tell them that I will miss them terribly and I will grieve, but that I'll be okay. And I tell them, I would love for you to live forever, but that's not possible. And I know we're always going to be connected in spirit. And then I say, basically, if you need to go ahead. I support you every single step of the way. I'm going to be just fine. And don't stay around for me. It's a key piece here to realize that it's essential to mean every word that is spoken or thought. Animals know our intentions. And if our words and thoughts don't match, if they're incongruent, then they will read what's underneath the words. So if we're saying, it's okay for you to go, I'm here for you, but inside, we're saying, oh my God, I don't know how I'm going to do this. They're going to read that piece. They're going to read what's underneath those words. And so I know it's hard to do, but if you can become aware of what in the messages you're sending, that's very, very important. The second thing I will do is I'll say, I'll ask for their assistance. I'll ask them to help me understand as clearly as possible what they want me to do. I always, tell them it's their body and I'm here to support. And, I'll ask, do you need vet assistance? And sometimes I don't get any kind of response that I know of, but I will keep asking the question. And, I think, with Pookie, I have a little Westie named Pookie, and I think I probably told this story before, but basically she was in the transition phase. And I asked her, I remember sitting with her and saying, do you need vet assistance? And she was actually sleeping and I didn't hear anything. I thought actually she didn't hear me. And so I went about my business. And then that next morning I had a dream. And in the dream, Pookie was actually, there were two buildings and there was grass in the middle. And she was showing me she was going back and forth between the buildings and the grass. And she looked at me and she said, I'm spending time on the other side and then I'm coming back. And I understood the image or the metaphor of what she was trying to say. And then she looked at me and she said, I've got this. So I woke up and I thought, okay, I guess that means no vet assistance. And within 3 days, she passed quietly in her sleep. So she knew what she was doing. And I was really appreciative that grateful I didn't knee-jerk reaction take her to the vet because I thought it was time. I always try to, it's such a delicate balance between the two of those and trying to determine, and our thoughts can get totally loud and in the way. So after I do all this, that's when I center myself. I really have to listen and watch for the response from the animal. So in Pookie's case, she was named after Garfield's teddy bear, in case you wondered. In Pookie's case, she, I didn't think she heard me or understood me. So, the answer may come immediately. It may come later. When your mind is not concentrating so hard on hearing the answer. For me especially, it usually does come later. It can come, in a dream. It can come in all kinds of ways, but you just have to center yourself into the process and listen to what the animals really are wanting to say and what they want. And so, I've had them give me, and I tell them, give me a look that I will know for certain. I will know for certain that this is what you want. And they always have done that. In Pookie's case, she came to me in a dream. Rosie, this was a dog that passed a couple of years ago. And I don't know, I was sitting with her and she turned around and she looked at me really strongly, and I had been watching her decline and not knowing when and kind of waiting for what to do. And she came, and right after she looked at me, she came and laid against my leg, really like leaned into me, and I could feel she was ready. So they can be subtle signs, but they're loud if you're paying attention too. And it's helpful, to just like breathe with them, actually. Kat said, would it be helpful to use your heart meditation to get into the grounded state so you can clearly hear? Absolutely. Definitely, any kind of quieting that you can do would help tremendously. And I've got an exercise that I wanted to do with you guys in just a couple more things. So I think that would be helpful. Hey, Claire, so good to see you. I'm so glad you're here. Bronnie, my old soul, gave us a definite look the night before she passed. Yes, it's the look. It is a distinct look. And hey, Leslie, my Bella gave me the look at 15 and I knew she wanted to go. It is. Hey, Beth, Tami, my Maggie is on the spectrum. I get that. And this is getting more prevalent with her age. Is there anything different that we should do for her as she gets older? That's something that is part of the transition as they move forward in their aging process. I just I've been working with someone for a couple years now, and she just passed a couple days ago, I believe on the 21st. And Jazzy was transitioning since 2020. And I've been working alongside Jazzy, and she was not ready. She was like, I got this on my own terms. And so it's truly a process. Beth, I would just try to adjust around all the changes you're seeing with her being on the spectrum. And they could be, it could be subtle. It could be a lot of different signs. Oh, Lucy, I remember that distinct look and knew she was ready. Isn't it interesting that how do we know that? If you think about it, all of us know what we're talking about. We're all like, yes, I have felt that. Even with people, there is a certain look. It's a soul look, and you can't mistake it. It's I don't know how to describe it, except I always appreciate when that it is that clear to me, because we're in kind of like wobbly territory here when we're trying to discuss, what do we do? How do we do it? Am I going to do the right thing? There are so many what ifs. And let me see. Hi, Lori. This is my first time. I lost my baby boy a week ago. He was going into kidney failure and had, I guess, pancreatitis. First of all, I'm so sorry. And you are in the throes of it right now, and the deep grief you must be feeling and the loss. And I was telling my friend who lost Jazzy, the vast space that's created and the quietness that's like a loud quiet. I am so sorry for you. And I know that this show and the next show that I have will hopefully help you through the process that you're now in. And it's the next chapter. Laurie, is that his photo right there? I'm assuming it is. How old was he? And I'll wait till you scroll it on. Kat, that's the only way I can describe what happened when my wily cat passed after 17 years of soul knowing. So, our intuition and our ability to connect kicks up, especially during this time of transition. So it's a very open, highlighted time that you have to really connect on a deep level with them. And so I had thought, well, what are the signs that I've seen when an animal is in transition? And, they're sleeping more, as Pookie did. They're slowing down. They're spending time watching versus doing. You'll see them staring off, eating less, maybe disoriented a bit, less mobility, restless, a lot of nighttime restlessness and confusion, and displaced kind of anxiety that you can't quite fit. Laurie, he would have been 14 in June. My goodness. yeah, he feels to me like he was very connected to you, and yeah, there's a family feel to him as well. We are all with you, supporting your journey today and going forward. Um, so I guess, the question is, what can I do to prepare them? You know, I've read a lot of books. I've had a lot of animals pass, and I will always do different things for different animals. A lot of times I'll play soothing music. I'll tell them stories. I've read stories to, get children's books, and I've read them to my animals. I get special blankets with special colors. I'll see what my intuition asks me or tells me to, use for that particular animal. And I talk to them. I talk to them about what to expect if we go to the vet. And I talk to them about how it's going to feel for them, that they'll just pop out of their body. And it's kind of like taking off a sweater. So for them, they do it more frequently than humans. So the memory, the connection is far closer and greater, actually. And I thank them for being such a special soul for me and teaching me. And I also go through and just say, you know what, you have gifted me so many things, and I will share what they've given me and what gifts I will take with me from them being in my life. And also in preparing not only them, but yourself, be kind to yourself in this process. I know Patty Weeks, you're on here. She went through quite the process with freckles, and wasn't always sure what to do. That will have those moments of confusion, but it's important that we don't rush the process, whatever that process looks like. Oh, Lori, I've been sleeping with this blanket every night. Yes, I love that. I love that you haven't just, you've still included him. And that's another thing on next show, which will be dealing more with animals who have passed in heaven. That's really important to do, is continue to talk to them and keep them in your life still. And I think I love that you're sleeping with that blanket. I think that's a very healthy, thing to do. Hey, Martine, Troy still watches over me, aged 4 to heaven. Yes, she lost Troy, who was a very heart and soul dog. And I believe, we probably met in 2020, didn't we? And you had just, you were fresh from that. And it was, the deep grief was still so raw. And so that also is a process. But I love that you now see, the signs, and you got all those feathers that you share with me. And let's see, Sindra, I played quiet piano music, put her dog bed in the, thank you, Renee, put her dog bed in the living room, where we spent lots of time, laid down with her. And before the vet put her to sleep, right there, she looked at my daughter, then me, laid her head down, and she was ready. What a beautiful, oh my goodness, that is it's poignant beauty. I will always go back to that. It's poignant beauty. And it's not that it's not difficult. It's that it's a sacred transition. We're there for births, and we're so excited for births. The passing stage, the death portal, is as sacred a time, and it's rich with many, many gifts. Thank you for sharing that. I like the piano music, the quiet piano music. So, what can we do to prepare them? What can we do to prepare ourselves? And I've learned over the years, from me, I try to stay open to whatever is happening, and I don't make death enemy. I try to, it requires basically a willingness to be vulnerable and open to whatever suffering and pain, in order to return support and love and compassion to them. And so really, I will also, as Kat mentioned, do a heart connecting exercise, which we can do, in another show. What I do and what I want to share with you as an exercise right now is, I always sit with my animal, and you can do this now while they're still with you. They don't have to be in transition. It's a great exercise to create cadence and a coherence, like a frequency between you. So practice closing your eyes when they're with you and put your hand on them and just feel their breathing and feel their heartbeat and pay attention to that. Just really just tune into that. It's like a meditation almost. And what you're going to find is you're going to be able to feel their soul essence, who they really are beyond that body. And they've told me, as I've done this for myself and with my animals, and I match my breathing to theirs, and so we're both breathing the same, whether it's fast or slow or whatever it is, and your hand is kind of feeling that breath and that heartbeat. They've told me that they would call that's their soul signature. So that when they do pass, you'll be able to recognize them. When they visit you in a dream, when they come into your house, when they send you signs, because they've already imprinted that essence with you. Now, living with them and being part of their lives, you're going to already know that, but we get so used to seeing the animal in form. And it's when they pass, it's easier if we practice this as they're alive and just closing our eyes. And it's actually a good way to ground too and calm your mind. It's just one of the most peaceful exercises or experience that I've ever done. And I love when our breathing and our heartbeats even are matched. And that creates this incredible connection. So I would encourage you to do that, whether they're in transition. That's a good time to do it, but you can also do it now, living with them and enjoying them in life. Let's see, Irma, we recently got a new puppy, another Jack Russell, but at first I asked God and Ozzy if it's okay. I asked for guidance for us and the new puppy Bandit. I want to learn more to be a better mommy. I love that you included Ozzy and you asked God, you were like, I need help. I need some guidance if this is the right choice. And I think that's a beautiful way to be inclusive rather than we're running and deciding we're going to do something. Thank you for sharing that. So I want to tell you about a friend of mine that I asked to be on the show. I met Nanette Cavner in unusual circumstances. I met her when she was working at the pet cremation place. And of course, having as many animals as I have had and have still, it's, you kind of have that constant going and coming. And I would always take my animal straight to the crematory. Now, not every place where you live, you may not be able to do that. But in my case, I was. And so I would take, and she would be there. She greeted me. She would talk to me about what I wanted. And of course, many times, most times I'm pretty much a wreck. I'm no different from anybody else. This is never easy. And, I've had my share of please don't goes and then acceptance of it. And so, it's a journey we just have to be conscious of every step of the way. But at any rate, I met her and she was this enormous help in an industry, in a field that most people don't know about. Most people don't take their animal all the way to the crematorium. We leave them at the vet, right? I'm sure many of you have had that experience, so you don't know how things are from that back end. And so she has this wonderful ability to be a compassionate witness and to relate on a very deep level to where you are, even while she was in this position, or especially since she was in this position. That's who you would want when you're taking your beloved animal, and that's the last time you're going to see their body. And so from there, she has moved. She's been in vet medicine prior to that, and she's back in vet medicine now. And so I thought it would be really helpful if I brought her on and we could chat a little bit and you guys could hear from her perspective, and we could all learn together. So please welcome Nanette to the show. Hey, Nanette. Uh-oh. Can you hear me? We can't hear you. You can, Renee, can you help her with that? Let's see if we can get it going.
Hi, Nanette. You need to unmute your microphone on your phone. It says it on the bottom, and then you should be good to go.
We'll see if she can get that. I tell you what, you work on that and I'll continue on, but pop in anytime you get the, just interrupt me anytime. So some of the things that I think would be helpful is, how does your animal feel as they approach death? I'm sure many of you have seen different aspects of that. Patty, I don't, if you want to chime in on what Freckles seemed to feel, whether she had this unquestionable calmness to her as she eased out. As I told you about Pookie, they do spend time on the other side getting ready. And it's like they're going on a trip and they're kind of getting used to the lay of the land. They will spend time with other pets who have passed before. They actually, just like with people, if you've heard somebody who's nearing their passing time, they'll say, "Oh, I saw so-and-so in the room, and this person visited me," and they get, they do have spirits that come visit in preparation for them coming. The animals do too. They'll have animals who have passed, friends from other times come, people that they'll see. So they are busy in this transition phase. It may look to us like they're kind of out of it or whatever, but they're very, very busy on an energetic level. And they have an acceptance, even when they have bodily reactions and things going on. There's a deeper acceptance that they are aware of, and they accept this stage of it. Let's see, Claire, we've always been lucky to be able to take our girls to the crematorium ourselves, where we were able to have a service for them just like you would a human. It's always made a huge difference for us. I agree. If you are fortunate enough to be able to take them all the way and take them all the way there, and you feel like you can, I think that's a wonderful part of the process. Any kind of ritual you can do, any kind of ceremony. So I really like that. Very, very fortunate in your area. Susie, my vet sent my wasabi to the crematorium. Yes. I called the place and asked for a certain urn I saw on their site. I picked an urn that is shaped like a cat sitting upright. I like that. I love that. And the vets, it's fine to do it that way too. We don't always have the opportunity, and in a lot of cases, the vets always handle that. My vet, when Louis passed late last year, I was actually traveling to see him, and he passed while I was, en route. I mean, he got assistance, but the vet and I talked, and I said, I don't want him to wait for me because he needed to go. And I unfortunately wasn't there at the very time, but my vet said, Tami, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to take care of this? Or I know you always like to take them. You want me to wrap him in a blanket? And I said, absolutely. So I picked him up, and we, it's like the longest journey, that ride. But I appreciated being able to be there with him even after he passed and I wasn't there with him. So there's all different ways that this happens. And let's see, Kat, Wiley leaned against me and started purring so loudly. He was letting me know it was okay, and he was thankful for all I gave him, but it was time to go. So I go back to, for all of us, how is it we know? How is it we know? and you were saying you just had this knowing. It's that soul knowing, and that is it's communication on a very, very deep level. That's a great question. What do the pups want us to do with the ashes? Love the question, because I've had that thought myself, and I've asked the animal. I try to feel into what it is they want, and it's fascinating. Some of them have wanted to remain close to the house and on the property if I buried their ashes. I don't know if you can see on my bookcase behind me, but I have a little shelf. I don't know if you can see the collars on there. The tall urn, the purpley urn, is Katie. The middle one is Murphy. I don't know if you can see the picture with the and Nanette actually gave me that when I took Murphy. I don't know, Nanette, are you back on now?
Can you hear me?
I can. We can hear you, and you came in like right on cue. I was just showing them my yeah. Remember when you gave me that for Murphy? The book? Yeah, that was so special, because he had that special photo of him with the tulips, and then the next one is Rosie on that shelf. So yes, we are so glad to have you here, because you come with such a wealth of wisdom and experience. So just, out of the gate, let me ask you, how did you get started in that business? It's a very unusual occupation.
It is an unusual, something I never thought I would be doing. I had worked in veterinary medicine since 1984 and had many family pets cremated. My father actually worked for the local crematory, and they needed someone to work in the office. So I just sort of fell into it. I was kind of guided to it. And as time went on, I learned more and more about the business, and actually helped with just not the day-to-day business aspects, but spoke with people coming through the front door. That's how, of course, like you said, you and I met. Listening to the stories, becoming a bit of a counselor to folks with, will I see my pet again type of thing, and just spending time with people. And that's very important during those times in the pet's journey, just listening to the stories. And I found it was just where I think I was meant to be. After many years of doing other things, but having been a pet owner and having worked at the veterinary hospital and dealing with folks with knowing their pets for many, many years, and then telling them about cremation, and then being on the other side of it to actually help during the journey, was a very special place for me to be.
Well, when people come to you and they come directly like I did, and I remember one time somebody else was there, and she had just a small dog, and she had such a difficult time when it was time for her to hand her to Hugh. And you were so gracious and patient and soothing that to help this lady get to the point where she could actually share. I think the dog's name was Maggie, if memory serves me. I just remember watching watching how you dealt with her. And from most people don't have the bird's eye view like you've had. And would you say that during your time there that you grew, it was more than just, say, office manager?
It was.
Like that was the platform on which you got called in, but really you had a greater and deeper role.
Right. Yes. And it was it evolved, and I was very fortunate that the owner of the business allowed it to evolve, and allowed me to have that space where maybe other folks weren't, not that they didn't have it in them, but I was the one that was able to really sit with folks and just be their ears and their, for some people, their family, because some people, their kids are grown and gone. All they have is their pet. And when that little one passes, that baby passes, they're left alone, and they have no one to share those experiences and that grief with. So sometimes that's what I would do. So
Mm-hmm. That was your greater purpose there for sure. How did you explain to people about the process, or would people not ask what the process was?
Everybody's different. Some people want to know every little detail because they feel that's part of their pet's journey. Some people want to just know that, that they're getting their pet's cremains back, and it's just their baby that they're getting. So it's just everybody's level of understanding is different. Some people couldn't walk through the door, but some people wanted to actually be there when the process happened. So it's just depended on people's comfort level.
And did the place where you work, did they allow the person to be there?
We would allow folks to be present.
Wow.
Maybe not during the whole process, just depending on their comfort level. But yes, they could be just in the building, just there. On occasion, we would have whole families come in and be present. I sprinkled holy water on a pet one time because that was very important for the owner.
Oh.
So yeah.
I would think that a deep level of caring and high integrity needs to be in place for this kind of work.
Correct. I had an incredible staff that I worked with, and everybody took it very personally when they dealt with folks, family members.
Yeah. I mean, when you sent them back, like, would the person come back and pick the animal up, or would it go back to the vet, or is it a variety of ways?
It was a variety. Some folks wanted to pick them up, again, part of the journey with the pet, and some people would have us take them back to the veterinary hospital. Just again, depending on their comfort level, what they felt they needed to do.
Did you find the work you did there, was it, what word do I want to use? Was it very heavy for you, or was it that you felt like you were doing a service? So, it's something that you're gifting back.
Yes, I felt like it was a service that was gifting back, but those heavy days are when, like, you would come because there was an emotional connection to you and to the animal because I knew you.
Right.
Although they're all special and important and family members, knowing the owners or having had a life where I would have experienced something with those pets made it a little more difficult. And wanted me to participate a little bit more than maybe I would have on a normal level.
Right. I think somebody I saw is they were scrolling, said that they didn't realize that you could take the animal all the way to the crematorium, but that's not a hard and fast rule that all vets that you even have one in the area, right? I mean, is that an unusual thing? Would you say?
It is. Yes. Okay. Although during COVID, the amount of people bringing them to the crematory increased. You had more pets passing at home, more owners being in tune with their pets and connecting with them on a different level because they were working from home, or their situations changed where they were at home. But yeah, every crematory is different as to whether they would allow you to come through the door or not.
Right. So you were there, what, how many years? 13? Was it that long? 11, 12?
11 and a half, almost 12.
Okay. So then you went back into vet medicine, and currently you work at an emergency vet, right?
Correct. Yes.
So in the other job, you were on after the animal had already passed, and now you're on the front end of things where you're now working with people and animals as they have to make these difficult decisions. So how is that? I know all your training has helped you and your ability to connect and help those people. We were talking the other day, and didn't you tell me that there was somebody that was having a really difficult time trying to decide, and you worked with them. So is there a lot of, are we doing the right thing? What are they, what do we do? Do you get a lot of that?
We do. You get a lot of that. And we're handling things still curbside where I'm at. So a lot of the over the phone conversations that we're having are people just searching for those answers. Am I doing the right thing? This is going on with my pet. And you can just tell in their gut, they kind of know that this is a decision they're probably going to have to make, but they need that guidance to say, yes, it's okay. And many pets come in critical. And if owners want to be present during the euthanasia process, we do allow them to be present. And they can be there and visit and be there during the process and stay as long as they want to afterwards, because it's very important during the pet's journey. It's very heartbreaking when an owner decides not to be there. So the staff, we all surround that pet and give them, you know, love and hugs and kisses and help them during that process, because for whatever reason, their owners have just decided it's not a place that they can be during that journey. But we don't want them to be alone. So
I'm so glad you brought that up, because, you know, I talked to somebody yesterday and she said, what do animals feel if we're not there? And she said, I couldn't be there. I just couldn't. And I said, you know, we're never alone. Number one, we'll have spirit guides, and animals have angel spirit guides to come be with them. They're never alone. But at the same time, if this person sent her daughter to be there, it gave her daughter a chance to be in a role with that animal in a way that wouldn't have played out otherwise. So, you know, from a broader perspective, when I look at it, this is kind of like it was a soul contract between the animal and the daughter, that she would be with this animal as it left, and the mother would kind of step out of the picture for the moment, having felt complete with the animal, but not able to do this piece. So it was actually a gift that the daughter could give. So you know, and everybody's different, and it's such an intimately personal decision. So, you know, and we can judge ourselves terribly for it. I remember early on, like I was in my early 20s, I had a dog named Ginger, and she got very, very sick. And I had come from so much losing my mother and father. Is like, oh my goodness, I couldn't even imagine losing her. So I remember taking her to the vet and talking to them and we all decided that's what she needed, but I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. And I remember I went back and I called them, you know, like, I don't know, an hour later or whatever. I was like, is she okay? How did she do? So I was like, you know, and it was hard because I was hard on myself. Like, why couldn't you do it? But I remember at the time I was so in shock still over my parents' death. They had died separately, but of, you know, like things that weren't easy to work with. And, you know, everybody has their own threshold. And I think it's important that if we can't be there, we can, you know, send somebody to be in our, you know, place, or we ask the vet techs, which gives them this amazing ability to offer love. And it's not just clinical, right? It's not just clinical. It's a living being that has, you know, love to still share. And it's just, I don't know. I guess the point I'm trying to make is we shouldn't beat ourselves up if we make choices. Right. I agree. And I think, you know, for any of you who have had situations where you weren't even there when they passed, like, for instance, I had somebody again yesterday tell me their German Shepherd passed while they were on a trip, and they were racked with guilt. And this person, about letting her daughter go, racked with guilt. And, you know, I was able to help them see it, the whole nother perspective. And the animal is like, they have a soul choice in this as well. They are participatory, whether it looks like that or not, in this situation. So I love that you brought that up, because it's such a sensitive subject with people. And when somebody comes to you and everybody determines, the vets determine that this animal needs to be euthanized and it's time, and how do you explain to them that they say, I just can't be there, I just can't do it? What do you say?
We let them know that it's okay. I mean, we reassure them that it's okay, that we understand. It's not always easy. And they're part of the journey is wherever they decide that they need to leave it. We always tell them that their pets won't be alone, which they're not. They're, they're surrounded with love. They're wrapped in warm blankets. They are, they're kept very comfortable. Our process is very peaceful. And, we had folks in the other night, they could not be there for the process, but there is a sedative that's administered and they stayed for that. So at least they knew that their pet was peaceful.
Right.
And then the rest of us just surrounded that baby and just, made sure that it was known that how much everybody loved it.
Right.
She was a beautiful girl and she had they had to make a very difficult decision. But, we understand that it's not a place that everybody can be.
Oh,
So
I just think that's so important for everybody to hear that, because it's so easy to judge yourself for it later, even though you're making the best decision you can at the time. And the animal gets that. The animals understand that. And always, I would think, it's good to, I know we zoom in on events and what's happening, but take time to zoom out and look at what all the participants, you've got the vet involved, you got the vet techs, you've got any other family members. There's a community of hearts going on, involving all parts. So all parts are part of the story called the end of this animal's life. It's not just about the animal. It's about all of our growths and how that affects us. So, all parts of the story are important. And then I want to bring up, and then maybe Renee, you can pull some questions that people wrote in on. And somebody wrote in on this. I was thinking about the show the other day, and I kind of channeled this, basically saying, if something tragic has happened, there's a real level of physical mess that can be in place, right? But on a deeper level, the animal spirit is popped out of that body. They're actually watching. They see the efforts we've made. They see this from a higher point of view. We're zoomed in on what's happening. The spirit and souls are watching, and they have spirit guides and angel. And they've made it clear it's not how we pass, it's the quality of life we've had with you. That's the important thing. And so with traumas, and I'm sure you see your share of them, and you have such a gift for being able to handle this in a way that's truly a compassionate witness holding this space. Are you seeing an uptick of passings with animals?
Yes.
What do you attribute that to? Any thoughts on that? Didn't you say you had a day that was crazy? The other day, it was just everybody was like, what's going on today?
Yes. Yeah. Everything that came in was, and not everybody was old. Not everybody had chronic illness, but everybody was passing. And it was very, it was disheartening to see. But, we didn't know, we just helped them on their journey. We didn't know their full stories. We're an emergency vet. We're not like a day practice or general practice where we have this long history. And you try to do what you can based on, I work with an incredible group of folks and doctors that are empathetic and understand. And they've all had their own losses, so they certainly know how it feels. And that day just really hit everybody hard. People are home with their pets more. They're more connected. They're more in tune. And I think it makes them, face these difficult decisions sometimes that, this is going on and they need to address the issue. And so we're seeing more and more pets pass, just unfortunately.
Didn't you say that day there was
are stronger?
Yeah, didn't you say that day there was a bearded dragon? What else? There was like this. Was there a rabbit that came in?
A bearded dragon, a rabbit, a rat, and a guinea pig.
Wow.
It was one day when we had all the little types of exotics and pocket pets. It wasn't a typical dog and cat day. And it was very tragic because they're all family. They're all family.
Sure.
It doesn't matter
Absolutely.
size, fur to feathers.
Right.
I mean,
that's right.
Scales in between. They're all family, and it's hard. It's very hard.
Yes, it is. And I'm feeling from the animals, it's kind of a collective, almost like a collective situation where groups will leave at, you know, like this group of the kind of exotic animals in place will leave at a certain time. And so I think it's important as we go through all the upheaval in the world to kind of stand back to see, you know, it seems like there's an increase of souls leaving, and all types. It doesn't matter the form, you know, whether you're a guinea pig or you're a dog or a cat or a human, you know, a soul is a soul no matter what. So, you know, I feel like, you know, if we can all be conscious and aware of all the grief and all the trauma that people are experiencing, and if they can come to a person like you, they will leave, they'll have their grief, but I don't know, you will have given them something to kind of balance their heart out a little bit, open their heart a little bit more. So, you know, I would hope every emergency vet has somebody like you that we would greet, because that makes a huge difference in our experience. And from the time we come in to the time we leave, it's an experience, right? If it's on many, many levels. I want to get to a couple of questions. Maybe you can help me chime in on these. Renee, you want to, I've got so many questions that I won't be able to get to all of them, but we will get to as many as we can. And let's see, Diane Fritz Shanks. Hey, I would like to know what was going on in Zoe's mind when I picked her up and took her to the vet to be helped with her transition that day. Was she in as much shock as I was that she was scooped up in my arms and taken to the vet as she lay peacefully sleeping? Was it a day too soon or a day too late? Did being euthanized cut short her preparation for leaving her body? I won't even start with the guilt. Do you hear a lot of that, Nanette?
Yeah, I do. People question if they're doing the right thing. And that's where you consider quality of life, and what's best for your family member.
You know, and I feel too, just from my experience with animals, that they truly, on a deep soul level, they understand all the parts of what is happening, and they know that you're as much a part of the experience as they are. So it's like this soul journey all the way to this piece where you have to make these decisions. I'm sorry that I get the guilt. I totally have I've had those thoughts that I had one too soon. He's gone. You know, and then I would have a dream about him and I would go, oh my gosh, you know I did it too soon. So there's no formula here, except knowing that whatever did happen, whatever choice you made it at the very best that you could. And so I don't get the sense I get a very peaceful feeling from her that she was actually in sync with you, Mom, is what she's saying, in sync with you, Mom. So she wouldn't ever and doesn't want you to feel guilty, because the beauty, and we'll talk about this in the next show, the beauty is that life truly does go on, and she hasn't passed. So thank you for that, Diane. I hope that helped. And Amy, people always say that you'll know when is there a time. I had two very different messages from this picture of Murphy. Both were trusted sources. Now, Amy, didn't I see you? Yes, let me look at this. My local crematory told me about an animal communicator, reached out, had made my decision. Murphy was in the ER and they kept telling me he wasn't strong enough. After the communicator and fairy godmother connected with him, Murphy instantly started getting stronger and the staff was amazed. He needed to know that I was okay and understand why I wasn't. I guess there I'm losing the rest of the comment, but animals, it's all in perfect order. I know it probably doesn't look like that, but it's all in perfect order. And remember this, it's all about everybody's experience. It's not just Murphy had some gifts to give to others while he was in the ER. That I'm certain, and that I feel strongly. And I know that whoever attended to him had it's like they won't forget having dealt with him, having helped him. And Nanette, would you say that you can remember certain animals?
Definitely. Definitely, yeah.
And you're not even in their family, but you remember that experience of when they came in or what had to happen or who the person was and how you helped them, right? So
exactly, yes.
That animal story became part of your life experience.
Exactly, yes.
So always remember that, Amy, especially, with him, he had some gifts to share. It's like ongoing gifts, which they will do to the very end. Thank you for sharing that. So my sweet Rex, 12 and a half, full of love and moving slowly. I'm hoping he will just go to sleep by himself. Well, when I look at Rex, he looks like he may be a little slower, and he looks incredibly kind and loving, and feels that way. But I don't get a sense he's like ready to step out the door, at all. So sometimes, and I know, Romy, I saw you comment about, how do we know when an animal who has dementia is, are they in their transition phase? We assume, I'm not saying you do, Romy, but a lot of times we'll see some change in our animal, and that immediately gets us on edge, and we feel like, they're leaving. And I don't know, Nanette, if you've seen that, people coming in thinking that they're not really ready to go.
Right.
But the people just maybe need reassurance, or they need more understanding of the situation. So Rex is a peaceful boy. But from what I can feel from this photo and what you've said, I don't think he's leaving anytime soon. I think he's got a little bit to go. So I hope that helps.
Oh, he's so handsome.
Oh, Susie. My first cat was a pretty little calico that I named Calico way back when I was a young girl. Loved that cat. And one day she just disappeared. Years later, I found out she was pregnant, and my father took somewhere and dumped her because she was pregnant. My dad was not a nice person, but I still feel the pain and her pain. I want to know if she survived and her kittens were okay. This really bothers me for so many years. Oh, my goodness. That's one of those permanent memories, right? That we can't seem to get, out of our minds, out of our hearts. But I feel like she went on to another. To me, if I feel back into that situation, it's like she went on. I got a sense somebody found her, or she went on to hang out somewhere, to have her kittens. So, it's almost like it was time for her next chapter, and it came in the form of, your father taking her, and that's a whole nother like kink in the story, right? That you would have to deal with, because of what he did. But for her, I just, when I read your original question, I felt like she had found some place to have her kittens. That's all I can say. And I hope that helps. And don't let it bother you, because you can still actually connect with her always. Alan Carty, most of us animal lovers have gone through losing an animal that we've loved very much. They all get a wonderful place called the Rainbow Bridge, wait and play with other animals until one day people came up and everybody goes into heaven together. I always have felt that, and I know that everybody knows the Rainbow Bridge, right? I've always felt that there's like a community, and almost like that Rainbow Bridge is almost a back and forth where they're coming and they're going. They're coming from spirit into form and from form into spirit. So they like high five each other on the way and like, hey, good luck. And you're like, yeah, I'm really excited. So I love this. Yeah. It's like a freeway of souls. Yep. So I appreciate that comment. Renee, I want to answer this question that came in, and I'm not sure you have the screenshot of it. So let me read this. It came in. It's very poignant. I'm so torn I'm not so sure I can handle listening to this. I struggle with the loss of my 4 fur babies. We tragically lost our beloved dog and 3 cats in a house fire 5 weeks ago, and struggle daily on knowing if they are okay. On the other side, it's not losing them in the traditional sickness, health, and old age. It was tragic and unexpected. wow, I'm so sorry. And, again, if I go back to what the animals told me about there it is, the tragic circumstances in which they go, the animals actually pop out of their bodies before anything dire happens. Their spirits pop out so that their bodies go through whatever, but they're fine. And they have this like huge amount of altitude for perspective. Whereas we just have the trauma of what that is. Nanette, if these were animals that they were able to get the animals and then brought them in to be cremated, what would you how could you help a person who comes in that has had this kind of trauma?
Well, I mean, I've met people that have had that kind of trauma, and it's horrific because it's so unexpected. It's something that they feel they can't control. There's possibly guilt because they got out of the situation and the pets were left behind. But the pets they're okay. They had no control, and I think that's the hardest thing. That there was no control there. You did what you could to take care of yourself or your family, your children, but there was no control to help and take care of them. But they were okay. It was just unfortunate circumstances, but they were peaceful. It was okay.
Right.
Yeah.
I would recommend for any of us who have gone through this, and especially Sarah, who had this terrible tragedy happen, is, as you can, create some kind of space where you can honor them and honor who they were. And that will help begin the healing. It will help begin the putting the pieces back together in a situation that how any of us could do, that it's just like the puzzle got completely destroyed. And now how do you put things back together again? So I'm honored you shared that, Sarah. And, our support and our love are with you. And yes, it's a shock. And so if you can talk to anybody, you can get any help from somebody who can listen and you can share your story. The stories we tell, they need to be told, but they're incredibly healing as well, whether we realize it or not, because it releases the energy from our psyches and our emotional bodies and the whole 9 yards. Well, my goodness, we're at the end of our time together and it just flew. I can't believe we're not able to get, to all the questions, but the good news is, the next show I'll do will be sort of beyond grief and animals in heaven. And I'll try to get back to a lot of the questions. And then Nanette and I are talking about possibly doing some kind of like a webinar of sorts, some kind of group meeting where we can delve more into this piece of animal transitions and passings and all that. So, we'll let you know as that goes. But as usual, I appreciate you coming. I appreciate everybody who has been here. And Nanette, I so appreciate you for coming and sharing your wisdom and your heart. And we definitely want to have you back.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody. I'll see you next time.
Bye.
You've been enjoying Tami's Soul Speak featuring animal intuitive and medium Tami Hendricks.